So it's 30 degrees, it's the hottest day of the year so far, and in today's episode I'm going to be rebuilding this ex-police white Skoda Octavia VRS. So in the last episode I had massive issues painting the bumpers and the body panels, and as you can see I've now done them. I've got some 2K direct gloss paint and they've come out absolutely fantastic. I'm over the moon with them. So we want to be fitting these to start off with. However, there is one issue. As you can see here, this wire for the side repeater is broken, and on further inspection it looks like it's being chewed by a mouse. And it's exactly the same on the other side. So I'm going to start by removing this scuttle panel area, having a look down there, repairing the wiring, and then we can start putting the wings and the bonnet on. So the scuttle comes off really easy. It's just a case of undoing the wiper arms, two 13mm nuts, give them a wiggle, and then the scuttle just pulls off. Simple as that. So as you can see, wire is now out and exposed, and you can see more teeth marks. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this here, cut a little section out, and then solder a new bit in, reshape the wires. It's going to look lovely. I've also found this, which I have no idea what it is. Some loom, which kind of doesn't go to anywhere. It's got various connectors in it, joins, changes colour 3 times, which is very interesting. So yeah, I'm going to cut that out because that's obviously not doing anything. So I remove this wire, feed it through, and then I start repairing the existing loom. Now I tend to use solder and heat shrink. Not everybody likes this, but it is a preferred method. It works really well, does a neat job, and once covered in tape, it looks factory, which is what I like. So the side repeater wiring is now all repaired, and I have found another source of water entry. So if you watched my first episode, I did say that the floor was very wet. This grommet here is not actually being installed. Can you see down there? So that's just floating around. I also had this issue in the previous episode that wasn't fitted. So yeah, hopefully them two will be the reason why the floor is very wet on the driver's side. So the grommet's actually for the bonnet pull, and I just push it back down with a flat screwdriver. As simple as that. And there we go, that's all fitted properly. Brilliant. And look at that, perfect. Right, let's do the other side now. We'll do that off camera. I'm also going to wrap a bit of tester tape around this, the cloth tape, just to protect it. Perfect. Right, it's very, very warm, as you can see from the sweat dripping down my face. And that's all back together now. Next job's put the bonnet on. So I've just put some blankets on the windscreen to protect it. And because there's no wings on, I'm literally just going to pop it all on top and then put the screws through from the side of the hinge into the bonnet. And I'm going to try and line the bolts up so they kind of match where it was before. That way it should all line up perfectly. Right, wish me luck. Now, would I recommend this method? Probably not. Do I do it pretty much every time? Yes. So, like anything, just be careful. You can easily scratch something, you can crack the windscreen. I tend to lay it down like I have done, line the hinges up, put the bolts through and try and line the bolts up with the original marks, and that's it. Tighten it up and you're done. Right, so I've just stuck it on the lift. I'm now going to put this wing on and then the other side, and then we can start working on the front bumper. So like most European cars, these wings just bolt on, and being an old VAG car, it's really simple. You've got a load of bolts across the top, you've got one on the sill, a couple behind the door shut, and then a couple behind the front bumper. That's all that holds it on. Obviously I make sure everything lines up before I tighten it up, and then I fit this little splash guard here, followed by the side repeater. And while we're at it, we do wind the coilover up because it is a little bit low. I don't like how low it is. I want it to have a little bit more ground clearance. And then finally, I put the inner wing back in, and that side is sorted. Right, so the next job is these areas here. Now, obviously, in the previous episode, I cut all the back of this out. I want to, in this episode, put some mesh in this just to make it look a little bit more factory. So, I've bought this very cheap mesh off eBay, and I'm basically going to cut it to the size, mould it, it's aluminium, and then fiberglass it onto the back of this. So being cheap eBay spec mesh, it does cut really well using just scissors. So I cut it about ½ an inch bigger than it needs to be all the way around, and then simply mould it into shape with my fingers. Right, as you can see, I've made it, I've moulded it, so now it just slots in like so and fits pretty well if I'm honest. So I'm going to do the sides next, and then I can start fiberglassing it all in. This side's exactly the same, but what I do is I cut the corners just to help me fold it in. I move on to the other side and do it in exactly the same way. Once I'm happy with the shape, I pull out the onion board and start mixing up the fiberglass. Now this is mixed with 1 tennis ball of fiberglass to 1 pea size of hardener. Mix it together nicely, and I'm using this as the bonding agent to adhere the mesh to the bumper. I apply a few blobs on the back, as you can see, and then mould it in with my fingers. You can't see any of this, so it doesn't have to be too pretty. So it's been 24 hours. It's not as hot today, thank God. Both front wings are on, as you can see. And the bumper is fully cured. That's the mesh on the other side. I think it looks pretty good. There's a bit of grass in there. I've screwed the number plate on and just put some normal bolts through it, so that'll do the job nicely. Next job is to put the bumper back on. Now, I've worked on every generation of Skoda Octavia, and I do love the cars. However, I cannot believe how much harder they are to work on nowadays. These Mark 1s are so simple. You've got 3 bolts holding the top of the bumper in, 2 on each side, and then a few screws behind the inner arch. And that is it. Incredibly simple. Such a shame they're so complicated nowadays. I will say this front end looks so much better than it did before. Just from a quick paint and a bit of a tidy up makes the world of difference. Right, now let's fit the headlights. Again, really simple, 3 bolts on each. Now sadly, I was running out of time, so I quickly blew the back arch in, but I didn't really film it. So I used a 2K paint and then a bit of fade out thinners on the edge just to blend it in. Not perfect, but loads better. Right, so I finished the painting and it's been about 48 hours since I did the back arch. Now the car is looking a lot better, but it could still look even better yet. So the original paint is still very flat, very disgusting. So I'm going to go over the whole thing. I'm going to mop the whole thing with a machine polisher and just make it look as good as possible. So that's what we're going to do next. So the first job I want to do is I want to clay bar the original paint. So this is a clay bar and its job is to remove all the crap from the paint. So all the grime was kind of like welded on over the years, all the road tar, all the dust and debris was kind of stuck to the paint. This will take it off. So I've done a quick section of the roof and look at the colour of this. This was blue before. Look how dirty it is already. That's all dirty road grime from over the years. If you try and machine polish this off, it just makes it so much harder. This grabs it off really easy and it's quite cheap to buy, so I would recommend this stuff. So you literally just do this on the paintwork. It will sound quite scratchy to start off with. Keep turning it around to make sure there's no grit or debris on it. Obviously I've used soapy water to wash it off first. I'm using soapy water as a lubricant. You can use quick detailer, but soapy water is cheaper and it works just as well. So like so, really quick and simple. And that is pretty much it for that side. So that can be ready for polish now. As simple as that. So I think what I will do is do a 50-50 comparison. So I'll do half the roof, machine polish it, and you can see the difference. Because I find with white cars, particularly on camera, it don't really show how dirty it is, and I can assure you guys this car is filthy. So we're going to go down the centre of the car, get one side looking mint and the other side looking how it was. Then you'll see the difference, hopefully. So the beauty of this stuff is you can use it on glass as well. It's really good for cleaning glass. You can probably hear that, but it sounds really gritty to start off with. But it makes light work of it. If you wanted to hand polish the car or hand wax it afterwards, this is just going to make the job so much easier. It's going to rub off and rub on so much easier. So like I say, I highly recommend it. If you haven't got any, buy some. One thing I will say though is if it's a dark car, you will notice some light scratches in the lacquer. Don't be alarmed by this. These will polish out even by hand with some fine cutting compound. It's just something I've noticed over the years. Light cars, you don't tend to see it so much, and you will find the wax will kind of fill them light scratches in anyway. Just when the wax comes off, you'll notice them. So polish them out first, then wax. You're never going to know. Again, this flat area on top of the tailgate is particularly dirty. It just makes light work of it. It really does. It feels like glass already. You can see loads of little like contaminants. Maybe it's iron filings, things like that. It's just pulling them all off. All the road debris, all the bits of tar, no problem. Right, it's starting to rain, so I'm going to put it in time lapse and crack on doing this side. So if you're enjoying the content, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And a big welcome to all the new subscribers, and also a big thank you to all the old subscribers. Without you guys, I wouldn't be here today. I love making these videos and I think you guys enjoy watching them. So if you do like the video, let me know in the comments, and thank you so much. I really do appreciate it all. Right, so now I've done all the clay barring, I'm going to move on to the mopping. So I'm using a machine polisher and a selection of cutting compounds. So we've got a coarse compound, a fine, and then we've got like an ultra fine finishing compound. This should get all the little swirl marks out, make it look great. We're also going to use a couple of different mop heads. So this is a medium one, I've got a firm one, I've got a soft one. I'll probably just stick with the medium one and the soft one for today. Right, let's see what we can do with this paint. So I actually start off using an eBay special polishing mop on the drill. It's a 3-inch mop, and I find it really good for intricate areas. Now when you are mopping, be super careful, don't go too fast, and make sure the panel doesn't get hot. It is actually really easy to burn through paint, and once you've done it, it's ruined. So take your time. It's tedious, it's tiring, it's hard work, but even a crap car will look so much better with a machine polish. You'd be surprised. So if you've got a dull old car, give it a go. Let me know what you think. And there we go, that is half the car now done. Now obviously I know it's not perfect. A lot of this paint is probably the original, but it's polished up pretty well today. It's 20 years old, it's done 160,000 miles, and the first 10 years of its life was a police car. So give it its due. If you compare it to the other side's flat, dull, this side's a lot shinier, looks a lot better. Yes, there's a few marks and dings, but it isn't bad. So I'm really happy with it. So the plan now is to do the other side, but I'm going to do that off camera so it's not boring. Whew, it's hot.
2 hours later.
So that's it, guys. The exterior of the VRS is now done. I am very, very proud of it. Yes, I said before it's not perfect, and it isn't. However, it looks really presentable and it's got good shine. So I'm over the moon. In the next episode, we're going to do the interior, we're going to MOT it, and we're going to road test it and see what it goes. So if you like the content, hit the subscribe button, like the video, and leave a comment below. Stay tuned for more. See you later. Bye-bye.